going on, everybody? My name is CL Palmer, aka CZ Pod Gang. I am here today at the Black Writers Weekend in Atlanta, Georgia, and today I am going to be interviewing Omar Landry. How you doing today, Omar?
I'm good. How are you?
Man, I'm hit, man. I'm doing the best that I can, man, but I can't complain.
Well,
Um,
all you can do, really.
man, look, nobody wants to listen to any of that. But you're an IP lawyer. Is that the correct terminology? Am I saying that right, or
Yeah,
do you
yeah,
want to
for
call you
sure.
an attorney? Like, what?
Lawyer, attorney, it's really the same. IP lawyer, intellectual property lawyer. How are you? Because some people might not, get the IP part, but yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
No, I just like to clarify. I like to give people their proper titles every time. But definitely have a few questions for you that have me curious personally, and I'm sure everybody else that's listening will want to give a listen in too. So I guess I'll start by getting to know you a little bit. So why is it important that someone know who Omar is?
Uh, well, it depends on who you are, I guess.
Okay.
If I might not want you to know who I am. If you're an author, uh, a writer, a musician, if you're in any kind of field dealing with intellectual property, maybe you're a game developer, something like that, you might want to know who I am because I'm someone whose job it is to protect the things that you create. Um, so even help you build your business and your brand and things like that. But primarily to help you get what you're supposed to get for your, creative endeavors, and then protect you on the other end for, um, anybody who's in any one of these industries kind of knows, you can't really trust everybody. At some point, you're gonna need to get, lawyered up.
That's facts. I know a lot of people right now they're having some legal woes because of content and who did what and when they did it. So I could very much appreciate you you know making this a point in your life to be protecting creators out here because we definitely need more protection, and I don't think it's enough knowledge out here.
It is, and I think that right now we're in a place where you could say maybe before it was like that, but now especially because there's so much content and there's so many different ways to access it that people are kind of maybe overwhelmed to some extent. But it gives labels, publishers, and things like that a lot of perceived leverage. Let me put it that
Mm,
way, because they still need you, but they'll act like they don't need you, right? And now we're at a point where the content itself is like so devalued.
right.
Um, you know, it's frustrating really, but like you can make something really, and if we really go by what the standard deal for some of this stuff is now, um, it's not worth it, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just not worth it unless you go the independent route. Me and you kind of talked about that a little bit before. Um, what they're gonna take from you might not be worth it to you, and because you haven't studied that part of it, you're focused on your craft.
Right.
Um, they can really take advantage. They'll tell you one thing, if they give you a contract, maybe it's 30, 40 pages, but I can explain it to you in two, three sentences, which should be impossible considering you needed 40 pages of written language to explain it. There's probably something in there that you won't like,
Mm-hmm.
and they expect you almost to not get somebody to look at it, right? It's buried in there, and that's where your legal representation. If they're looking out for you, I'm not gonna say put anybody else down, but sometimes some people are on the other side of these things. So having somebody that is like content creator first. I'm somebody I'd rather go with the idea man than the money man. Does that make any sense? Right? Because
That
you're the
makes
one
sense.
with the vision, in my opinion. Like we can find the other end of it,
Right. Everybody got a lot of checkbooks out here.
Right.
you know.
But to actually be a visionary, to be a creator, um, it's something I personally value, and that's what got me into it.
Okay, let's start right there. So like between I guess your background and the culture of like content right now. Is that really what kind of drove you into doing IP um, practice?
So, okay, as a kid, um, so my dad was a guy. He worked for IBM for like 30 years. Um, he brought me home a broken computer, asked me to fix it, and if I could play games on it, stuff like that. Um, he was also a really well versed musician. So my uncles, a lot of my family, my brother, they used to get played on. I forget the name, the college radio out here, 95. I can't think
Oh,
of it.
95.5 the beat,
Stuff
or
like no, no, no.
no, not that one. I know you. I think I know you
You know
talking
what I'm saying?
about.
I can't even think of it right now. I'm
Yeah,
losing it. But they used to get played on there and stuff like that. We got into music. So I've always been into creating content, and even like me and my friends, we might play a game. I'm somebody who's like, I want to know what the game engine is. Who did this? What did they do? If I watch a movie, who composed this? Like I'm looking at, who did what. All that stuff is important to me. I think about it on a technical level, even when before all this, I just naturally did. So once we got into music, we kind of had a little dipped our toes into a little bit, and I kind of saw what the industry was without getting too deep into that. It kind of inspired me to try to help not only my friends but other people like that, because I know how much time and dedication goes into it. But if you let the industry itself kind of dictate to you, they'll just act like
right,
anybody can do it.
right. Now they would definitely treat you like you are replaceable. And I mean, to a certain extent, you are, but it just may not be the same quality. You might not have the same impact. It's a lot of things, and I see that every once in a while where people just kind of undervalue what they have in their hands. Um, Now that's a real good point. Now, I come from a music background too. I know we spoke about that, and it was always important for me is like making sure that I had all the rights to my songs. I as soon as I turned 18, I got my ASCAP card.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know much about the industry, but all I knew was publish. Make sure you got your publishing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm out here amateur as it gets. And I actually recently just filed for a trademark. Now I'm not trying to get any free legal advice, but I did get rejected,
Mm-hmm.
and that they said that it hadn't been like put into use.
Mm-hmm.
And so going back and forth, now I'm at the appeal stage and whatnot. Kind of tell me like what's something like common that people are making mistakes when they go through this trademark process, and like I guess like at what point should someone be calling you? Is it like as soon as they start, or maybe when they get in trouble?
So trademarks, and literally we just had a class on this a few minutes ago that I was teaching. I always tell people copyrights, and a lot of lawyers might not like that. Copyrights are something I really think you can just do on your own.
Mm,
It's really not that complicated. Like just being real, it's really not that complicated. But trademarks, you should probably have an attorney at the start of the process. So, did you file an intent to use or said it was in use? It's a 2A and 2B.
I
Um,
think I think I said in use because I had it on some shirts, and
mm-hmm.
I thought that was enough, but I didn't submit like photos
Specimens.
of the shirt. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I had to go back and send them things, and now it's on my Instagram and whatnot. So it's a little bit more tangible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I did have it as like in use.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like my big mistake.
Well, if it was in use, um, like if you were already selling it, if you're in use, really means it's at a commercial level, right? It doesn't have to be major. It just means that you have sold it or it's for sale. Let's put it that way. It's for sale currently when you file.
Mm,
Otherwise, you file an intent to use, a 2B form, um, and then you have 6 months after approval, should that happen, to provide specimens. So when you filed, if you filed as a in use and you don't include proper specimens, by the time it comes around, they'll reject it because there's no proof. Um, but rejection in general for trademarks happens like astronomically high. I told somebody before it's I think the estimate on it is something like 70%, like for
Wow.
office action, and that rejection is preliminary. It could be something that you could fix, but a lot of people, when they get that part, they might just drop out anyway. Like, oh, it got rejected. I'm done with it. They give up. Um, but if you have an attorney that kind of helps you, okay, what's the viability of this mark, right? They'll perform a search. We'll figure out, what kind of competition there is. I can kind of give you an estimate. If there's nothing there, then I'll be like, hey, we're, green light for the most part. If there's something there, these are potential things that they might come up and challenge us. And then we have to deal with it. So you get, good advice on what's out there, and then proper preparation of that form, proper submission of specimens for T-shirts in particular. Without getting too far into it, I don't want to give away the whole game for free. Without giving too into it, how you present the specimen is just as important as presenting it. Like shirts in general, they want to see certain things, and they provide some of the information there if you look at it. But they want to see certain things, and the other issue is they might not even really read what you put there. So you might just need someone who can advocate on your behalf. I've had a form before where everything there was right, and we submitted. And then when they got it, they really just didn't look at it, right? So stuff like that happens. And then I say lastly, outside of having somebody that can advocate for you, knowing those little rules, the things to get around it. And then if office action does happen and then you hire an attorney post, they are going to tax you. Because now I got to go through all the stuff you did. And once we get into opposition like that, like I have to overcome office action, it might go to T-Tab. We're basically doing a written form of litigation.
I got you.
Now it's me, because when you file a copyright, real quick, when you file a copyright, they don't have time to really go through all that, right? Copyrights, it happens so often. Every song, book, they just keep, and they're all a little bit similar. How could you really go between one song and another with samples and so it just kind of gets pushed through. On a trademark, there's an attorney sitting right there waiting to look as soon as you send it. And like I told people in the class, they might be new. They might be trying to make a name for themselves. I might get a 40-page rejection for something. You could have wrote this in like a paragraph, man. You had to do all this. They're like, I'm trying to make it. Somebody's gonna notice I'm a good attorney and I'm about to reject it. So I would just say, for trademarks, patents, at the top. For copyright filing, if you feel comfortable, do it on your own.
Okay, no, that's good to know. Like, the fact that you're letting people know, like that's something that can be done. Like, it makes me feel like I could trust you.
And to some extent, it is an olive branch like that. Like, not to like I'm trying to be deceitful, but
right.
I'll literally tell I'll do it. If you want to pay me, hey, gladly. But if you really look out there, it's not really worth. By the time I start charging you hourly, for filling it out, you could have filed 2 more copyrights.
That's a little wild just to even think about it. But now you're making me think about some of my other brands and things that's kind of just like ideas. I might look into that. But you are a practicing lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed you work with a lot of creators. You work with some game companies. When I think about law, I always think paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to figure out, man, is anything fun about the paperwork, or is there something that's more fun, another aspect of it that you really enjoy?
Like what joy do I get out of it as opposed to the creation side? So that's something you gotta kind of like deal with it, right? Like early on, it's like, man, because I'm helping, I become a middleman to some extent. Just being real. Like, you're the creator, this is the person we got to get to push it through, and then I'm like facilitating that. I'm, we talked 2K point guard, basketball point guarding almost, right? Except I'm like the traditional point guard, pass first, and I never score. I don't know how to put. I'm Rondo.
Yeah, that's Rondo.
I'm Rondo. So to some extent, but as I went on further, I am happy, like literally, I do get joy out of making sure like if you made something, man, I respect the craft like itself so much. And when somebody finishes something or we have it there, especially if I'm really into it, but even if I'm not, I respect how much work goes into it. You're semi replaceable, like you said, but I don't really think everyone has something different they'll do. Um, I was listening to something the other day. It was Michael Jackson's stems from Smooth Criminal,
Mm.
and this guy had like everyone the whole session, and I was just listening to what he was doing, and I was like, nobody else would have did this,
Right.
right? Screaming into the all that stuff. You can hear him stomping and spinning around in the studio. I was like, yo, you have to be around people you trust to even feel that comfortable to do that in the first place.
Yeah.
But you can't really replace what he did. You could say that. I could throw somebody else on there, but you're not going to get the same end result. It's not going to be what it was.
True.
So I really do get joy out of, especially if we like working and we like a real good team type of thing. Trying to help on that end.
Okay.
Because if they do mess us over, for me, even if it's not my word, I do have a response emotionally. I'm getting pissed off.
Got you. No, that's real though. So it's like you definitely want to like play your position in like helping something to be great,
For sure.
and that's kind of the joy.
Rondo.
That's right. Like I like it because that's kind of like me. I'm a producer by trade,
Mm-hmm.
and you never see me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
But you're setting the whole thing
but
up.
I'm
Like,
setting
that's the
every-
canvas.
Right. And so I could definitely relate to that because I'm my boy. He's a content creator, and I tell him like, yo, not everything for me is made for me to go viral. Like some of the stuff is just made for me to help you go a little bit more viral.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I have ideas. I could use all my own ideas, but you already got the platform. You got the audience.
Mm-hmm.
You take this idea and then you go make it great. We just work together and make it look nice.
I would guess there's still some joy for you too in doing that and having your touch on it.
Right.
Especially if you have a vision, you like this could be better if X, Y, Z.
Exactly. So, I think we run a little short on time.
Okay,
I'm not exactly sure, but I know we did have a little technical difficulty coming up. But I did want to ask you a little bit more about licensing and copyrights. Now, like I have some really good ideas, and I feel like they might be good for like a big corporation. I might have something that's good for Google or Amazon. Um, is that like a difficult game for people to really get into, or is it just like coming to somebody like yourself and then helping you and just getting the guidance to where you need to go with your idea?
So what do you when you say something like you mean like software?
Yeah, let's say like I had an idea. You know what? I don't even want to say software. I want to go a little bit more intellectual. Like, let's say I had an idea for like a marketing partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that something that I could actually license in order to give to someone, or?
See, I would have to know further what you mean because certain things you can't copyright, right? Like if I have a book of recipes, the recipes themselves can't be unless I did something unique with it. Right, like Kelly Blue Book value, like those books you buy or whatever.
Right.
The content itself can't be copywritten because it's just information. How I present that information might change that, right?
Okay.
So if I add something to it and it's not strictly just information, then I can protect it or you can protect it. So it depends on what it is. In some instance, like if you're trying to approach an Amazon or something for anything, you probably need an insider, somebody to help you get your foot in the door. And maybe, I can't help you with that. I'm gonna be real. I don't have anybody on the inside on Amazon, where I could pitch that to them. So it can be difficult, but let's say you got a process or something like that. Like Amazon, I'll give you a quick one. Since we're running short on time, Amazon, like you can go in there and buy something and you do the one click buy now.
Right.
That's a patented process.
Mm.
If I go to another site, it's got to be 2 clicks because they literally own the one click. So stuff like that, like
they own the
one click. So it was a whole case. So yeah, it's crazy. So there literally has to be one more confirm. It's something minor just to make sure you can't just go through. Because for them, that was what made it so easy. You just click the button and go through it. So of course, also people think less when they just click it and don't have to go through and look at
That's true.
and just buy.
Less hesitation.
Right, exactly. So they patent that. That means they got 20 years on it, from the patent
Wow.
date. So if it's something like that, I don't really do patents, but I would still, if we knew it's something patentable, I'd probably put you in touch with the lawyer who could.
Got you. Okay. I didn't really ask that question how I wanted to ask it, but we might just have to talk.
I got you.
And so I can get my thoughts together.
For sure, for sure.
But let's wrap it up on a couple things. For one, like how did it feel to be here at the Black Writers Weekend, and teaching the class?
Um, it was great, man. Primarily, okay. When I first got in there, it was like two people walked in. I was like, dang. And like I was like, this is good information, but a lot of times it's so legal jargon, so like in the woods, it becomes something else. And I've done this talk a lot of times. So now I've kind of gotten it down to where I really try to make it more interactive. We just go back and forth because I can sit here and teach it. Right. But now I'm teaching you a legal class, and you might not have any. There's lawyers who might fall asleep in those classes. So just to make it a little more back and forth, but literally it was two people, and I kept by the 10 minutes in, I kept having to go to the door and let people in. We had packed out the whole room.
Oh wow!
And then it really became a discussion, almost like we're doing here. People just started asking questions. Like I had stuff on the board, but we really got into such a good conversation. We touched on the Khalees Beyonce thing. We touched on a lot of little things, and it was really good. And then it was a few people who were really trying to push what they're doing. And after the class, I probably stayed there another hour, and then I walked out, ran into somebody else, and we were just talking. And I really like talking to people and hearing what they're doing. Rondo, again, if you got it, I'm curious to know. So it's like that. It was really good. And to see the turnout, this is what the third one of these I've done for the Black Writers. The turnout here in Atlanta, man, we really turned up. So
okay, that's what's up. This is my first time being here, so I'm a little newbie. I'm just kind of looking around, trying to look glazed.
I got you. I mean, it's my first year. It's just we did one Chicago, LA, and then this one.
Oh, okay. So you've been traveling
with
the tour. Oh,
yeah, I was literally in LA with him before this one.
That's crazy, man. But I'm definitely glad you was able to come out here. I wish I could have caught your session, because I bet that was a very lively conversation.
It was a good one.
I'm gonna have to see what they got the recordings. I'm gonna have to go back and check it out. So we're gonna get you out of here on this. Now, everybody in here is pretty much a writer. Are you considering yourself a writer at all, or you just?
I try to take myself out of it. Like even when I'm telling you now, like a lot of times if I have a client, I might not even get into, I did this, because I don't want to, like. There's people who don't. There's people who don't know how to separate the two. That's all it is. I want to make sure I'm there for you, and not so much to promote what I'm doing, but to build what we're doing here. But off the cuff, non-lawyer stuff. Yeah, I'm a writer, man.
Okay. So, just you got any wise words of wisdom for any of the writers out there that want to make sure they get themselves protected?
For protection, lawyer up. Be the first sentence.
Lawyer up.
And if you're doing anything like me and you were talking music in particular, if you're doing anything collaborative, right, this would be a great tip a lot of times. And you can download this. If you're a musician, you can go download it. But even if you're just writing like a regular book, split sheets or everything. Right? Everybody's cool. We're all working on stuff. But when the money comes in, the friendships become something else. So who did what percentage it is, work that out before $1. And if we have that agreement, understand it. You don't need a lawyer to do that. Again, I'm going to give you another tip. You don't need a lawyer for it. Just go ahead and get your percentage up right, establish, because later on down the line, it's so hard to prove who was, did what. That'd probably be the main thing, to go ahead and, especially collaborative, do that. And then if you have your brand and you're building it and you're investing in it, invest in yourself again and get a lawyer for your trademark.
That sounds good, man. Lawyer up. Get them split sheets. I'm gonna have to go get some myself. That sounds like a very good idea. Omar, I want to thank you for doing this interview again.
That was great. Thank you.
And excuse me. We'll have the contact information with you in the episode, so anybody wants to get in touch with you. But just shout out your Instagram or the website.
Website is LanderyLaw.com.